The moral of this story is, don't make Georgia O'Keeffe mad. Hi, my name is Kat, and you're watching my new series, Art Gist-ory. And this is the time Georgia O'Keeffe refused to pay to Pineapple for Dole in what I'm calling the Pineapple Incident. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, or at the very least, subscribing. Before we go into it, let's give some background to the two main players in this interesting story from art history, Georgia O'Keeffe and Dole. Georgia O'Keeffe was one of the most prominent painters of the 20th century and pioneered the American Modernism movement. She was born in Wisconsin in 1887, but spent most of her career in Manhattan and New Mexico, where she rose to fame in the 1920s. Chances are that you've probably seen her work, even if you didn't know it. She's most famous for her enlarged, up-close, abstracted studies of flowers. However, personally, my favorite work of hers are her landscapes and her paintings of animal skulls, because that lady really knew how to paint some bones in the desert. She was also known for being extremely driven and headstrong, where people kind of described her as stubborn or difficult because she refused to be treated different than her male counterparts. She often dismissed that her work was merely just women's art. She truly believed that she was one of the best painters, and for good reason. Also, side note, I saw an amazing retrospective of hers at the Cleveland Museum of Art in 2018 that focused not only on her work, but her fashion as well. She had an iconic fashion sense, and immediately after going to this exhibition, I bought a dozen wrap dresses in black. I was like, I need to look like her. Absolute legend. Now let's talk about Dole. Dole plc, formerly the Dole Food Company, formerly the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, is the largest producer and grower of fresh produce in the world. Dole was formally founded in 1901 by James Dole, but he was not the first notable person from the Dole family. James Dole's grandfather was a Christian missionary who attempted to convert the native Hawaiians to Christianity in the 1850s. James Dole's cousin, Sanford Dole, was the first governor of the territory of Hawaii in 1903. He played an important part in overthrowing the Kingdom of Hawaii and stealing the lands from the native Hawaiians. After the territory of Hawaii was formed and was annexed into the United States, this conveniently made importing produce to the rest of the United States a lot more profitable because there were no longer tariffs on importing goods. As the Dole Company grew into an empire through the early 1900s, they relied on the fantasy of Hawaii's untamed beauty, as well as the image of exotic and natural native Hawaiians, who the Dole family played an important part in absolutely decimating in order to sell their products to Americans, which reinforced racial stereotypes, the exoticism of native Hawaiians, and it was pretty gross, you could say. And they actually still do this today as well in Hawaii. They have a mock plantation attraction park, theme park, that you can go to and get the experience of how they grow pineapples, which is yikes. The reality was, and still is, Dole's pineapple plantations were extremely exploitative to Hawaii and the native Hawaiians. And they modeled their business after American company towns, which try to control every aspect of their employees' lives. To continue cultivating this natural image of their company, they looked to art to depict their products. And that is where our story begins. In 1939, Dole approached Georgia O'Keeffe with the opportunity to go on an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii in return for 2 paintings that they would use for a national advertisement campaign for their pineapple juice. The condition that she set with Dole was that she could paint whatever she wanted and they would not have explicit control of the exact paintings that she would give to them. And remember, Dole was named the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, and this was for an advertisement campaign for pineapple juice, so they more or less were expecting some sort of painting of a pineapple. When she arrived in Honolulu from Manhattan in April of 1939, she was in awe of the beauty of the landscape, but was not impressed by Dole's attempts to sway her creative process. They presented her with a sliced, peeled pineapple for her to paint. She was indifferent to this gesture and requested to be moved closer to the pineapple plantations so that she could study the landscape as well as the pineapple plants themselves up close and personal. Dole advised her that a woman such as herself should not stay amongst the employees, and they denied her request for relocation. She apparently took note of the ethnic segregation on the plantations, and I think she grew suspicious of Dole's attempts to sway her because she left Honolulu and started traveling around Hawaii painting whatever she wanted for the next 3 months. During her travels around the islands, she completed what I would probably consider some of her best work of volcanic landscapes and array of local flora. Also, yes, the waterfalls she painted do look like vaginas. Are you happy now? I know it was the burning thought in everyone's mind. While I don't think she is completely innocent in the historical context of white artists going to a recently stolen land and kind of capitalizing on the beauty of it, I do think she had a much more humane and sincere approach to appreciating the beauty and wasn't trying to actively harm anybody for her benefit. Unlike artists such as Gauguin, who was a literal colonizer and a big stinky jerk. And honestly, his paintings weren't even that good. So suck on that, Gauguin. Here's a quote from O'Keeffe reflecting on her time she spent in Hawaii. If my painting is what I have to give back to the world for what the world has given to me, I may say that these paintings are what I have to give at present for what 3 months in Hawaii gave to me. At the end of her extended trip, there was not a single pineapple to be seen in any of the 20 paintings she completed. Instead, the 2 paintings she attempted to deliver to Dole were of a lobster claw plant, which is actually really stunning and kind of an amazing painting, as well as a papaya tree. The papaya tree is worth noting because papaya juice was the rival to Dole's pineapple juice at the time, according to a 1940 Time article written about her trip. So this was kind of an extremely cheeky move on her part. Also, this painting is just really funny to me because if a tree could look as if it is flipping you off, that is what a tree flipping you off would look like. Unsurprisingly, Dole was not thrilled with the results of her trip. Upon receiving the paintings, once Georgia O'Keeffe had returned back to Manhattan, Dole was so angry that they express shipped an entire pineapple plant to her doorstep within 36 hours. She finally caved and painted reluctantly the gifted plant in what you could barely consider a painting of a pineapple. There is nothing about this painting that screams, drink our pineapple juice. And honestly, the pineapple bud looks just like an oddly glowing grenade to me. I think this is probably one of her ugliest paintings that she's ever done, and obviously no one can confirm that that is intentional. I find it hilarious all the same. They proceeded to run with the printed advertisement campaigns despite not really having all that much to go with. The results are probably the most 1940s thing ever, and I will conclude this video with a reading. Perhaps you have never seen a pineapple bud, and words cannot describe this glowing crater of color, which on the Dole plantations grows and ripens into a luscious big pineapple. Perhaps you have never tasted Dole pineapple juice, and there's no other way to discover the fragrant, zestful goodness of this pure juice. Just try it for breakfast, after shopping or exercise, with the children when they come home from school, wherever you or your family crave refreshment. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy this new series, and a special thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. I objectively love you more. If you'd like to support this channel, please consider going over to my Patreon, where I post exclusive video content, and you will get your names in the credits of each video. I have no idea what my next video is going to be. I have a few projects kind of in the works, but I'd really like to know what you would like to see me cover, whether it's part of the Artist Beware series or this weird Art Gist-ory series that I'm doing now, I guess. So please suggest some new topics in the future. I don't know. We'll find out what's in the next video. But until then, do an art.